is up, Ham Radio? Kilo Echo 8, Papa Zulu November. The Ham Radio Adventure Guy. Thanks for stopping by. Your one stop for everything Adventure Radio. It is Hump Day. That means it's time for the Hump Day Happy Hour. We got a great show tonight. Kind of got the ideal after my Monday Night Ham Radio video. I posted a little short video of me upgrading my 8118 really quick. Of course, there was no soldering in it, but just a little quick project that I did to upgrade my 818, and I really enjoyed it. And I even told them in the chat it was so easy an 8-track could do it. But I'm wanting to get into some more kit building, and we got to start somewhere, and we got to start with soldering, because if we don't know how to solder, we're not going to be doing very good with kits, are we? So we're going to be talking soldering tonight with Plasmastorm, Mr. Solder himself. But before we bring him out, we're going to go ahead and give a shout out to all the Patreons. These guys rock. We have a lot of fun in the after chats and stuff like that, and I'm sure we will be having it tonight. Hayden already has the link for you guys in the Discord Patreon chat. It's not in the Patreon chat, but it is in the Discord. And if you have any questions or anything, just send me or Hayden a message. We'll get you in there for sure. And other than that, we're going to go into, we're going to give a couple of shout outs for people who donated off stream. Bruce, Indy, Charlie Papa, the Insane Clown Posse, he come through big again. 10 slices of pizza. Henry Norris donated. And they put someone, I know who they are, but I'm going to leave them blank because they said someone, because some people don't like to know. But there was a lot of moving around in the stats. So this is where we're at. Kurt still leads the leaderboard. James Jenner takes over second place. He busts Toby down to Toby's down to fourth place now because Bruce slid right in there in the third. And yeah, a lot of shaking up going on. A couple of new names in the top 10. So you guys rock. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. And all right, we're going to bring out our guests tonight. Hayden, you and Plasma, come on out. What's going on, guys?
How's it going, everybody?
It's going good with me, other than busy. How you guys doing?
Doing pretty good.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so for those of you who don't know Plasma, first off, I don't know where you've been because Plasma's on like every stream all the time, and he's always donating soldering stations to giveaways and everything else. But for those of you who don't know him, Plasma, you want to give a little introduction to yourself?
Yeah, I'm Plasmastorm 73, also known as November 5 Echo Victor Victor in the ham world. Originally from the Pacific Northwest, now living in Florida. And I was a professional solderer working for Tektronix for about 12 years.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Yeah, I knew you're like Mr. Solder. You're always soldering stuff. So
yeah,
I figured what better person to bring in to talk about soldering than you, because you're always doing it. So tell us about it a little bit. Where does a person get started, and what do they need? Tell us all about it, man.
Okay, well, to get started, really the only thing you need is a soldering iron, some solder, and something to put together. There's a lot of great kits out there. You can get AM, FM radio kits, clock kits. It doesn't matter what it is. Buy a kit, get yourself a soldering iron, and it doesn't have to be an expensive iron. I started out with a $6 soldering iron when I was about 10 years old, and that thing soldered just about everything I could find, including stuff that I shouldn't have been soldering. I actually got into trouble when I was about 12 years old because I took my mother's alarm clock apart while it was still plugged into the wall and soldered it back up.
Nice. That takes talent.
Shot myself a couple of times, and I couldn't figure out why I was getting this weird feeling, but man, my mother freaked out when she found out it was still plugged in.
Now that's a funny story, and I'll tell you that kind of reminded me of something I did as a child, and yeah, it's kind of embarrassing, but I was wanting to make me a little secret hiding place in my bedroom, and I didn't. I had this socket over in the corner that I didn't ever use, so I was like, cool, and I took the cover off, and I didn't know no better, and I was like, well, we'll just cut these wires out of here, and
Oh no.
I'll have me a little compartment. Yeah, well, I kind of shocked the immortal crap out of myself, and you heard this big pop, and like the house just went dark.
Yeah.
I was like, immediately, I was like, oh crap, you know. And yeah, my dad was not too happy with me, but I actually was soldering when I was very young as well. My dad, which was a ham radio operator, and he was always into electronics. He's always building stuff. He worked in TV, VCR repair. So I mean, but he used to have me build these little tiny kits and stuff like that when I was little and stuff with him. So, but it's been years since I had done it until I got into ham radio, and of course I'm half blind now, and holding everything together and stuff like that. And I know a couple of tricks now, but tell us a little bit of tricks on how to make a good solder joint and stuff.
Well, to make a good solder joint, you want heat. Heat is the most important part. Is get your parts hot, hold your soldering iron to it. You're not going to destroy it, and then apply the solder to the tip of your soldering iron and let it flow into the part you're soldering. If you're putting two wires together, you want to do what's called a lineman splice. And what that is you take your two ends of your wire, you're going to put them together and twist one of them over in one direction and then the other side over in the other direction. So your splice is going to look like that. And then you just run your iron onto the wire, get it hot, and flow the solder into it. And you want to use lots of solder so that it flows all the way through all the wires, not just the top of the wire.
That gives you a good mechanical connection and an electrical connection when you do it.
Correct. And then when you're done with that, use a little bit of heat shrink over the top of it to seal it and waterproof it, and you're good to go.
All right, so that's two wires. Okay, let's say what about you got any tips and stuff for say a wire to a connector?
It's pretty much the same thing no matter what you're doing. Wire to a connector, you're just going to take and put your connector on the end of the wire, solder down into the connector, and then crimp it. And then put your heat shrink over it. It's pretty much the same thing no matter what you're soldering. The key is you want to get it nice and hot so that the solder flows through it.
Excellent. Hey, somebody get the bot in the chat, one of the mods, please.
Sure.
The second thing you want to make sure is you're using good solder. Don't cheap out on your solder. The other thing is do not use unleaded solder for electronics. It's garbage, it does not work, and you will be banging your head on your table. It doesn't flow properly, it doesn't make an electrical connection properly, and I don't know how the people in Europe do it because it's been banned over there, but unless it's got lead in it, it doesn't flow properly and create those connections.
So Toby actually asked, what is considered good solder?
The number one standard in solder in the industry is Kester, Kester, and it's 60-40 rosin core. The 60-40 is the composition between tin and lead, 60% tin, 40% lead. And with the rosin core, you really don't need anything to help it flow because there's plenty of rosin in there. But you can also use flux, which comes in many different forms. There's flux paste, there's flux flow, there's flux pens. Matter of fact, I use a flux pen if I can find it here. I have so much stuff on my desk, it's not even funny. But yeah, Kester actually makes a flux pen that you can get them for about $10, and it looks like one of those old paint pens.
Okay.
With the pressable tip, and when you press it down, the flux flows out onto your project, and it is no clean. Funny, Joseph. It's no clean solder or no clean flux, so you don't have to wash the board after you're done. But if you're not using no clean, you want to make sure you use alcohol to get that off of your board because it will degrade the board.
So Colin's flux capacitors are on a high back order right now. I have a standing order for those because that's how I get around to the park so quick. So good luck getting those.
Chain supply.
The bots are back, guys.
Really
How you
good.
made it when you're getting inundated with bots.
I'll tell you what, I have arrived. I have arrived big time tonight because they're hitting me hard tonight.
That's because they know I'm on here. I'm a moderator on 3 other channels, so they're mad at me.
They're like, oh, there's that butthole who keeps getting us. I get them pretty much a lot, but I mean they came in pretty quick and hard tonight.
It's been a while.
Well, I think the Russian hackers have figured out how to tunnel out, so that's one of the problems.
That's even funnier because I see it says one of them was deleted by me. I didn't.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay. I was like, I didn't delete nobody.
I got you.
Can I do subscriber only mode? I probably could.
Yeah, if you do subscriber only mode, the bots are pretty much gone.
What fun is that?
Yeah, then I wouldn't have nothing for all my million mods to do. But honestly, I've never even done it. I do need to look into that because if they're going to start hitting that bad, that's quite a bit. Okay, so you hear a lot of people talking about different tips and stuff like that. What does people need to know about tips?
Different tips are for different projects. Most of my projects, I use this tip, which I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I'll try to hold it up to the camera.
Hold on, we'll make you bigger over here.
All right.
I'm trying to get used to switching back from monitor to monitor. It's a whole new setup for me. Okay.
Okay. You won't be able to see it very well because it won't focus on it, but it's a chisel tip. It's got a wide area on it, and that wide area provides a lot of heat to your project. Okay. Unless I'm working on surface mount, which are those little itty bitty things that you can't see even with a microscope, like T6ARK uses. Man, yeah. His projects are one of those things you go blind if you're not already, and if you are already blind like we are, you don't see it at all.
Yeah, that's been my thing. I've been wanting to get one of his antennas, and then I see everybody with that, and I'm like, I have a little bit of issue with little tiny things. Where I had the brain surgery, I don't have the dexterity in my fingers very good. So I'm like, I don't know. And now he's talking about doing a 100-watt version. I'm like, ooh, I might have to now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you, my secret is a pair of these.
Oh, nice.
They are magnifying headlight. It's got a light on it to light up your project, and it does adjust to different angles, and you get 5 different lenses from slightly magnified to I'm totally blind and can't see anything magnification, which is the one I use most of the time. And it's a nice little kit. I think it was like $15 on Amazon. And the come on, get back in your slot. The light is USB rechargeable, so you don't have to worry about changing batteries out. Just plug it in and away you go.
Roger that. So yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you there on the blind thing. I'm blind as a bat. These glasses here are probably 10 years old, so they don't do me no good anymore. So I recently I've been upgrading my shot. I've been doing a lot of work and sleeping very little. But so I added a
Sounds
big.
like me.
I got a 46-inch monitor over here now, and the difference and sitting and looking at the chat and stuff like that. And by the way, I actually seen across the bottom of the screen. Shout out to David for the 3 slices of pizza, because I can see that on the big screen over here. On this little bitty screen right here, man, not so much. I see something moving. I'm like, oh, let me look at my phone and see who donated. Yeah, I'm with you on the blind spot, and that is something I recently broke mine. I meant to print another one, and you may have one. I screen printed. I 3D printed a little soldering holder. It's got like little grooves in it, and it'll hold the wires right there in the center for you, and that seems to help me. Do you have anything like that you use, or?
I have a cheap helping hand.
You have the real one.
Well, they're $7.99 on. Yeah, that's it. $7.99 on Amazon. Yeah. And
I've got
alligator
around here too.
Alligator clips, you can use them for circuit boards too. You just put a little piece of rubber band in there over the teeth so it doesn't ruin the board.
I think I got that from Radio Shack.
I've got one of those around there too, because that's what Dad used. But I don't know.
Is that the old pair from Radio Shack or the new Radio Shack?
Oh no, this is old school Radio Shack.
That's the American-made ones. These are the cheap Chinese. But hey, they work. Although the magnifying glass that came with it was garbage, so I took it off. But
yeah.
So
there you go.
Yeah, I've got that too.
Those actually hold fast, so that you're not bumping your stuff around.
Ron says that Harbor Freight sells them for cheap too. So
yeah, Harbor Freight's got them for about the same price, $8, $10. They're not expensive. Now you can get them up to $300 set, but I can't see why you would spend $300 on a set of helping hands.
No,
because you have more money than brains.
I'd rather spend $300 on a new pair of glasses that can help me see the stuff to start with.
Right.
Yeah,
I've actually got a eye exam coming up on Monday.
Oh, there we go.
Finally got in.
Okay, so we'll move on a little bit to kits. What's say somebody's just starting and they want to do a fairly easy kit. What's a good kit you think to get somebody started?
There's actually a Christmas tree kit on Amazon that it's 2 circuit boards that fit together in the shape of a tree, and you're just soldering the LEDs onto it. Very easy kit. Okay. It doesn't take a lot to put it together. You can get it done in probably less than an hour. And then there's also the LCD screen clock. I think they're like $15 a piece. Good beginner kits. And then if you want to do something a little bit more difficult, you can pick up a mini Pixie for $10 to $15, and it's just a little tiny QRP radio. It's a CW radio, and you can get them in either the general or the extra bands. They don't work very well, but it's a good kit to put together.
Now, I'm trying to remember the name of the kits. Oh man, have you seen Pat in the chat? Pat can tell me. It's a little. They make CW or digital uh, little radios. God, what is the name of it? They were at Dayton. I'll think of
QRP
the name.
Labs?
Yes. Have you done one of those yet?
I have not. I'm actually planning on getting one of the True SCX and putting one of those together.
Okay. Yeah, I'm wanting to get one of those and try it out. Yeah. Now Collins is saying QRP Labs. Yeah, that was it. Um, I'm wanting to do one of those myself. And
I'd actually like to get. He's got an amplifier kit that's a QRP amplifier, and I'd like to get one of those and put one of those together because that looks like a lot of fun. Now that's more of an advanced project because it is a lot of toroid winding. So unless you're comfortable winding, I think there's 10 toroids in it. Unless you're comfortable winding toroids that are about that big around, you're not gonna enjoy that kit.
yeah, I kind of hate doing it. I do it quite a bit because I'm I'm out for the perfect end fed. I've made plenty that work fine, and I'm not satisfied with them, and they go away, and I start over again because I want it to be the perfect end fed. And so I've had my share, and I hate wrapping them. I do. I absolutely hate it.
They're a pain. There's
Oh,
actually a service that you can buy them pre-wrapped, but I'm not paying the extra money to have somebody else do something I can do.
yeah. I mean, maybe if you were making something in mass quantities, I
Right.
could see
Then
it,
I would do it for
but
sure.
not just for yourself. No. A lot of people filling up in the chat. I want to say hi to. I see VA3CP, John Carr, and I seen the Insane Clown Posse in there. Some of my regular hunters are probably like, "Where's he at?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, he's on stream tonight." Uh, don't worry, if the Patreons let me out of the after chat early enough, I'll be out there again for one more tonight because I feel bad, man. I've been so busy today. I got one early morning activation in. Well, besides the three late shifts last night. We won't count the three late shifts last night. We're one early morning in this morning, and then I got one FT8 while I was filming a. I said a promo earlier, but it's not a promo. It's a clip for the Parks on the Air award ceremony for Support Your Parks weekend. So I was honored to be one of the presenters of. I actually got most hunter contacts. So I know who won. Ha ha.
Nice.
uh, but yeah, I had to film that today. Now I still got to edit it. Okay.
Light go out?
Yeah, that was weird. All right, Hayden, you asked a question where I can figure out the lighting issue that just happened.
Sure. Plasma, I've seen a lot of videos on the surface mount soldering where they take and put a little bit of paste down in some sort of heat gun or something like that. What kind of experience do you have with that?
That was a lot of what I did at Tech.
Okay.
This is your best friend for surface mounts.
Okay.
Surface mounts, you put down a little bit of flux paste, and then you put down a little bit of solder. Let it cool. You put your surface mount component on top of the solder, and then you heat it back up with the gun, and it flows right into place.
Is it as easy as it looks on the videos, or is there some sort of learning curve to it?
There's a learning curve, but it's not as hard as it sounds.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
If you're trying to solder it like you do a normal component, then you're never going to get it right.
Yeah.
It's going to be crooked. It's not going to flow into the position correctly. heat gun is about the only way to really get a good seat on those surface mounts, especially the ones that are really tiny, like the ones that Adam uses on his antennas, that are so dang small you can't even read what's on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen some of the videos that the guys put them together, and they're using tweezers to try and hold it in place.
Yeah. When the surface mounts are that small, even the heat guns can be a problem because they're so light that the heat blows it off.
Yeah.
So you got to have the tweezers to hold it into place and actually set it in as you're heating it up. For those ones, I just flow solder and drop it on and let it sit. Because you really don't need that much solder to put them in place. You just need a drop.
Sure. I'm wondering, anybody in the chat, if you guys have any soldering questions, go ahead and put them up in the chat, and we'll get Plasma to answer them for you.
Ron, the best heat settings are, there's actually a chart that I have by one of the solder manufacturers, and I will actually share that in the Discord so that anybody who wants to can download it. It's got all of the heat temperatures for all of the various types of solder. Me personally, when I do mine, I set my soldering iron to 800 degrees Fahrenheit, and it stays there the whole time.
Now, what if somebody has one of those soldering irons like you see at Walmart or at a hobby shop or something like that? What are they rated for? It's the ones that you just plug in. What would they be good for?
Every soldering iron works exactly the same way. The wattage is the only thing that's different between them, and watts does not mean temperature. Watts actually refers to how fast it heats up. Okay. So if you have a 30-watt iron, it's going to take quite a while for it to get up to temperature. And those are usually set at about 300 degrees Celsius to 500 degrees Celsius, which is roughly what you need for the mainstream solder, the 60/40 solder. Now you want to make sure you're not using a soldering iron that's meant for full lead, because they don't get hot enough to melt the tin. They're strictly for making stained glass.
Okay. Yeah, there is. I'd forgotten there's soldering involved in stained glass.
Yeah.
Okay, Cobain wants to know what your favorite desoldering method is.
Solder wick.
Yes.
It's my favorite desoldering method. Unless it's removing components completely, then it's the hot air gun and suction.
Yeah, the solder suckers.
Yep. And actually, I prefer, when I worked at Tektronix, if you watch some of T.O.'s videos, he actually has the desoldering gun. It's heat and vacuum at the same time.
Okay. I have seen one of those.
It's got two triggers on it. It's got one to heat things up, and then you hit the second button, and it just vacuums the solder right up off of your component. You just have to make sure if you're using tiny components, you're holding the component with tweezers, or it'll suck the component up too.
Yeah, right up the tube.
I've had quite a few surface mounts go right up the tube and get soldered on the inside.
Wow.
And once they're covered top and bottom with solder, you toss it out and get a new one.
So, and you mentioned 60/40. That's been around for a while, hasn't it?
60/40 has pretty much been industry standard since the 60s.
Okay. Yeah, I learned to solder in high school in electronics class, and that's all we ever used was 60/40. So.
Yeah. Yeah, that like I said, it's been an industry standard for maybe even longer than that, but I know for sure since the 60s. My mother, actually, the one that taught me to solder, she worked for a company called Litton Industries, and she worked on Navy contracts. She actually made the circuit boards, her and 3 other people. They were the only ones that could get the top secret clearance. They worked on the Alvin mini subs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Dave asked what your recommendations for hot air guns are, and I'll take it one step further. What's your recommendations for solder stations?
My recommendation for a hot air gun is this cheap 1099 hot air gun.
Okay.
Hot air guns, you don't need expensive guns. I mean, you can get them for $20 and less. This is $10.99 on Amazon, and it works just as well as the $75 guns that they had at Tektronix.
Now, what's the difference between that and the hairdryer? Does it get hotter and it focuses more?
No,
or?
actually, the hair dryers have a little more airflow.
Okay.
So you actually want to use, if you're using a hair dryer, use the lower speed setting, and that actually is about equivalent to this, except for this concentrates it a lot more into one area than a hair dryer does.
Sure. I guess that would be important. You don't want to solder the whole board at one time.
Right.
Unless you're really good.
Now, if you're doing rework, or what they call desoldering is what's called rework, you don't want to use this kind of a heat gun without a tip on it, because the tip will actually focus it even more, and you can get pinpoint accuracy with them, with the tips.
Okay. And then one more question, because I know I have one of these. Do you recommend any butane soldering torches? How well do they work?
Yes. Butane soldering torches work very well because the flame heats it up very quickly and keeps it hot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is another option that's out there now called the Pine Cell, which is a battery-operated mini torch, and it's about, I want to say about that long, and it plugs into your battery that you take for your POTA, SOTA, mobile work, whatever you're doing. You can plug it straight into the battery. It's 12-volt DC to DC, and it works really well. There's a couple of different hams that actually have them and use them on their videos, Carlos being one of them. And he loves it, so I would recommend that as well.
He mentioned the butane soldering torch. I have from Radio Shack. They used to sell a butane-powered soldering iron.
Yeah.
Where you'd light up the middle, and then the tip of the iron would get hot. I still have that around here somewhere. I use it every once in a while.
Yeah, that's pretty much. That's pretty much what a soldering torch is.
Yeah. Yeah, those are pretty neat.
If you're talking about the actual flame torches, no.
Okay.
Those are made for pipe soldering. They're not made for electronics. You will completely melt your board before you get anything soldered with those.
Yeah, that's funny. I actually went and was trying to pick up a soldering gun because I didn't want to look through this house because I know there's some in this house, and I went up to Lowe's and stuff, and that's what they tried to get me, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's for pipe soldering.
Yeah, I'm not trying to burn up a board here. I'm trying to solder. But yeah, sorry about that.
Especially if you're trying to do a modification on a radio. If you want to use the radio after you're done, make sure you're using a soldering iron. Butane irons are fine, but not a torch.
Yeah, that was really weird. I just had some kind of electrical issue through a lot of the house, and I had to figure out what was going on. So sorry about that. That was the good thing is it didn't cut me off stream, which it would if it cuts me off stream, it wouldn't cut you two off stream. And that's the good thing. That's the good thing about having Hayden here. He's like, he'll be back. He'll be back. But let's ruin his show and all his subscribers while he's gone, but he'll be back.
Well, they definitely didn't go up while you were gone.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm down 500 subscribers all of a sudden, but
sorry.
What you guys do? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Hayden does an excellent job. All right, so
what's $20 in it if they join his channel instead?
Nah, I only got 2 videos on mine.
Hayden can plug his channel anytime he wants to. Matter of fact,
Yep.
Covain already put your channel in the chat there. I seen earlier there, Plasma. But what's your favorite project of all time that you've done so far? If Hayden hasn't already asked this.
Nope.
No, actually, he hasn't. My favorite project that I've done is actually the Cartena. I have more fun building that antenna than I have any of the other projects I've done. One of the reasons is because it was lower than my skill level, so it was a relaxing build. If you're building something that's above your skill level to learn, expect some stress. If you're just doing it for fun, try to find something that's lower than your skill level, and it'll be a relaxing build.
See, that's my problem with everything. I try to do these things that are relaxing, like Parks on the Air. And then, I get this weird little voice in my head, it's like, you must be the Pota King. You must be out there 24/7.
The competitive side comes out. I know that feeling. That's how I was when I worked at Tektronix. We had a competition who could build the most boards in the least amount of time that were all correct. Never did make that quota, but I got pretty close a couple of times.
Well, I mean, I set goals for myself and then I beat them. So I just like, ooh, how far can I take this? And sometimes it's annoying. And it's nobody's fault but my own. Well, besides the whole park a day, I blame Vance for that. He came on the stream and he challenged me to this park a day.
Right, I saw that.
And I still blame him. No clue why I end up doing 3 or 4 a day, but I blame Vance for it.
Well, if you're anything like me, you do it just in case.
Well,
did I get that full activation? I better do another one just to make sure.
How does the saying go? 1 is none and 2 is 1?
Right.
That is true. I do a lot of it because I'm competitive, but I also do a lot of it because my hunters, we have such a great relationship. I've got some hunters and they just like, I know a lot of them is like freaking out because I've not really been out there today very much. And, like they're so used to, it's just like they know my last activation of the night, I'm going to hit 3 bands. He's going to hit 40, 60, 80, and it's funny because I never have to even spot those second 2 bands. I just put hopping on the thing. Yeah. And I go over to 60 and I'm like, is this frequency in use? And one of them throws their call sign out. And so then I go there. Then I put hopping again and I go to 80 and 9 times out of 10, even on 80, somebody's right there waiting.
Nice.
It's great. But yeah, the thing with POTA is there's such a great group of people out there, the hunters and the activators. And it's just, I don't know how else to describe it. You can't get this. I've done a lot of hobbies in my day, and I would like to say there's a lot of good people in ham radio, but
No, there's a lot of good people in ham radio, and there's a lot of not so good people in ham radio, and it's like anything else. Those people are going to be everywhere you want to be.
It's true, but all the good people in ham radio are over at POTA.
Right.
There's a few that's not, but I'll tell you, man, some of the lids, and it drives me crazy because I'm so easy to get along with. I've had many of people say, hey, we're going to do a net on this frequency, or even a couple up. Do you mind the move? And I'm like, absolutely, sure, no problem.
Well, Richard's got you there. So okay. He says, unless the battery dies, right, James? Sorry, couldn't resist, bro.
Yeah. Listen, and the bad thing was is my battery never dies either. It's just I had been out there and it had been raining and I wasn't really charging it that much. And I'm like, I've got enough for tonight's activation, and then we're going out to this thing tonight. And when I come back, I'll charge it. Well, I just have finished my activation, just have finished it, and I hear the car door, and I'm like, oh, there's Pat. He's finally back because he was staying at the campground. Then I hear another car door, and another car door, and then here just all the YouTubers just start rolling in. We're here to do POTA. I'm like, there's the radio. So they start running the radio. Well, Richard decides that he's going to plug his 705 in there. He said, "You mind?" I'm like, "No, I don't mind." But between all the YouTubers and his 705, it pretty much killed out the Biolino. But it had been going for 3 days without charging anyway. So
nice.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, when I say without charging, it gets topped off a little bit by my Patreons know what by. As a matter of fact, I'm going to drop that tomorrow for everybody else on YouTube, what it gets topped off when I'm driving down the road with. And everybody's seen them anyway. It's no surprise, but we'll put that out there tomorrow for everybody else to see. It's been sitting in Patreon for about a week now. But it does get topped off a little bit while I'm driving. Oh, all right. So, what about and you guys may have covered this. What about the you have a heat gun that you like to use for your heat shrink as well? What kind is it? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, it's a cheap Chinese. Can't even tell what the name of it is because it's written in a weird cursive. But it $11 on Amazon. You can get for $2 more. There's one that comes with a pack of heat shrink. It's the same exact gun. I mean, you really don't have to spend a lot of money on your soldering tools. Now, there's a couple of things that I do recommend you don't cheap out on. One is a pair of crimpers, unless you're using a pair of pliers, which don't really crimp a lot of the things properly. I mean, you can use it, but you're not going to get a great connection. If you get a pair of these, throw them out. These are garbage. This actually came with a soldering set that I had gotten for a friend, and I got rid of these and bought him a good set. But if you see, it's not straight, and that's because I tried to crimp one spade connector. And this was done by a spade connector.
Oh, wow.
That's how cheap this stuff is. It's super soft. I mean, I can bend it with my hand. That's how bad it is. Garbage. These things are not even worth your time. Now, for wire strippers, I actually use a cheap set. I mean, it's $7 on Amazon. It's called Dowel, and they're actually an Amazon exclusive brand. They work just as well as the Irwin Vice Grip versions, which are about $10 more, and I've not had a problem with these in the entire time I've been using them. I mean, they're wire strippers. And then another tool that I use a lot is a pair of needle nose pliers, just to be able to hold stuff in place while you're soldering. And the other thing you want is a good pair of actual angle clippers. Now, the other tool, and I don't know if I have it sitting here yet, there it is your nippers. These are for small wires and cutting plastics and things like that. You do not want to use these on large AWG wire because it will completely dull them and get rid of them. That's what these are for. If you're using heavy duty wire, you want a pair of the angle cutters that has the heavy duty head on.
The link I put in the chat was for the heat gun. If anybody's interested in that, I might have to order one.
Now, as far as soldering irons go, it's pretty much
and
what you want. I mean, you can spend as little as $7, and as long as you're not using it a lot, if you're doing a lot of projects, you're going to want an actual soldering station, because the soldering irons by themselves don't maintain heat over a long period of time if you're doing a lot of soldering. If you're doing small piece work, a little bit here, a little bit there, they're fine. They're more for a beginning hobbyist who's not doing a lot of soldering. But if you're going to be doing a lot of solder work, like you're going to build a kit with lots of components, if you're building like the QRP Labs radios, you're going to want a soldering station, because that actually will maintain your heat level through the whole project.
And what is your solder station of choice?
I actually use a $60 Japanese company. It's a Yihua, Y-I-H-U-A, and it's the 939D Plus. And I have had it for over a year and have had zero issues with it. The only thing I don't like about it is it does not have a sleep function. So if you get up and walk away, it's going to continue heating, and it can damage the tips if you heat it for too long without actually putting more solder on the tip to tin it.
It's not a bad price either.
No, it's not. And those are the ones that I give away. I won't give away something that I don't like, and I really like the station for the price, especially. It's something affordable that people can get in and have a digital soldering station. Yes, actually, Mike, my mom does solder. She was the one that actually taught me how to solder, believe it or not. My father was a fisherman. My mother was a solderer. Total opposites there. Dad was an outdoorsman. Mom was an indoorsman.
So a fisherman and a solderer walk into a bar.
Right. Sounds like a punchline.
That sounds like a good joke coming.
If anybody's interested in the solder station, that link is in the chat too.
My dad was actually a master welder. He worked for Allied building truck trailers down in California.
He kind of soldered too.
Right. Actually, that's how my mother got into soldering, was through my dad. Because my dad and actually his brothers were all mechanics, welders, and did a lot of electrical work in cars. They used to buy old junk cars and rebuild them and then sell them. I don't use a film extractor or a fume extractor. I just use a fan.
I wait till fall for the stock up on the pumpkin spice solder.
That's not solder. That's incense.
I'm glad you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned fan, because I was sitting here getting hot, and I was like, I wonder why. I moved my fan when I went and checked on all the electric stuff. So.
Cobain says he has a Weller station that gets the job done.
I actually used
Weller when
I worked in Tektronix. Weller and I can never remember the Hako. They are like the two industry standard brands. If you work in a professional shop, you're using either a Hako or a Weller, because they last. I mean, I know people that when I started there that were just retiring, and they had their soldering stations for 30 plus years, and they were still working just as well at the end of the lifespan as they did at the beginning. I mean, about the only thing you have to really replace is your tip, and once in a while the wand.
Mhm.
But the base station, if you get in a good quality station, you should never have to replace that. Unless you do something stupid like I did and spill your drink into it and watch it go magic smoke.
And you can't even solder to replace the parts on it.
Right? That's where the $6 soldering iron comes in handy.
There you go.
Pull the old components out, solder it back in, and then start it back up.
I've had my share of the magic smoke before. I won't give details about it, but I would say that a certain company used wire that was a little too thin for their battery connections, and I went and hooked the battery up, and as soon as I plugged it in, that battery started, the wires started just absolutely just smoking. And when I went to grab it to pull it back apart, and I mean, it burnt the immortal crap out of me. And that battery, it smoked for like, I don't know, 3 hours.
Was it a lithium battery?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, lithium batteries are really bad for what's called a thermal cascade or a thermal runaway. And that's when one of the cells will burn, and then it'll cause damage to the next cell, and then that'll burn, and then it causes damage to the next, and the next, and the next. And it can actually burn for days.
Well, I'll tell you, it kind of scared me because, batteries do blow up, and I was like, well, I gotta go to bed, so I put it in a metal trash can with a lid and put it on the porch. And I was like, if this thing goes off, it's gonna sound good tonight at least.
Put some shrapnel around it. That's great.
That's right. Thank you very much, Kent, for the 5 slices of pizza. I'm sure you will be 5-9 later this evening or in the morning, one of the two. He's always got a good signal. Kilo Niner, Alpha Echo Echo. All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour here. We'll start wrapping it up a little bit. Any last minute tips or hints you want to give everybody, Plasma? And if you're in the chat and got any questions, now's the time to share them.
This is your best friend as a solderer. It's called tip tinner. It's basically powdered solder inside a little container. And when your tip gets dry to the point where it won't allow solder to stick to your tip anymore, you dip your tip into it, and it just melts around your tip, and it creates a brand new shiny tip. Everything I showed here tonight can be found on Amazon, and because Amazon's our best friend, that and Harbor Freight has a lot of these items as well, with the exception of the soldering stations and the heat guns. I mean, you can get heat guns there, but not as cheap as you can on Amazon.
And both of those links are in the chat if anybody wants to check them out on Team Replay.
That's right. And Plasma just put Plasma's, Covain just put Plasma's channel link back in there. Real quick, shout out to Kevin, Mr. Pedal for Poda in the chat tonight. That was really fun hunting you, man. I really appreciated that. That was good stuff. Did you did you happen to get to see work in Plasma?
No, I did not. I actually was taking a nap at the time.
Yeah, I told Plasma, I was like, now the stream is at 8 Eastern. He's like, I done planned on taking a nap to be in, make sure to be.
This is a good tip from Ron.
Absolute good tip. Do not file your tip, or you will be buying new tips.
Yeah, learned that one the hard way.
Filing a tip is the quickest way to absolutely destroy it. And I've had so many people talk about, oh, I just use a file, and I cringe every time I see it. Now, one of the other things I use is there's actually the breath pull. Now, That's not a main cleaning item. It's just a thing. It's used to take a little bit of the excess off. Your main thing you want is the sponge. Sponge will clean your tip a lot better. It does not damage the tip like the brass wool can, and it will make sure your tip is perfectly clean. And it's been used in the industry since the 40s.
Little water and a sponge, right?
Yeah, it's actually a special sponge. It's a heat-resistant sponge, so that when because if you use a normal sponge, I now tried just about every sponge out there to see if I could cheap out on those, but can't do it.
That does not surprise me, Mike. That does not surprise me.
I think Mike's actually creating a pocket weapon there, grinding it down to a nice sharp point. Yes, always keep your tip clean.
I think Mike's turned into Mr. FT8, man. He's like blowing my ham alerts up anymore with FT8.
You know, Jason's doing the same thing lately. Ham Radio 2.0. I've seen him a lot
Must
more
be a Texas thing.
FT8.
I haven't been on FT8 in a while. I'll have to get back on there.
Yeah, if I go to FT8 and the next thing I know is my phone's blowing up from hunters like, what are you doing? We want to talk to you. Come on the radio.
You're on the wrong mode, bro.
I've got a tip for you from my old high school electronics teacher when he was teaching us soldering. He always said if your soldering smells like barbecue chicken, you're holding the iron wrong.
Yep. That's one of the things I love about going on Amazon is seeing all the pictures of them holding the iron like this.
Yeah.
You know there's no heat going through there when they're holding it like that. That's what I'd say. That's probably the biggest learning curve is learning how to hold it properly so that it's comfortable in your hand. Not everybody's going to hold it the same way. I mean, I see people that solder this way, solder like they're holding a pencil or a pen. It really, the way you hold it does not matter as long as it's comfortable in your hand and you're going to be able to hold it the whole time.
In West Virginia, we hold it between our two biggest toes and drink beer with our hands.
I've seen that too.
While our neighbor's playing banjo music.
That's scary.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. Plasma, what you got coming up on your channel, buddy? Anything?
I'm actually going to be having my battery box build video on there. I'm still in the editing process because I have one more component that I want to add to it, but I'm waiting for that to come in. It's been on back order for a while.
You just excited, Mike. You said the word battery, so he's like he's jumping around his house right now. Good deal. All right, Hayden, you got anything coming up?
Oh, not really. I'm still battling with the boat. And once we get that up and running, we're going to be doing some maritime mobile videos.
Good deal. Yeah, I hear that there might be some crazy YouTuber guy coming your way when you get that done.
Oh yeah, he's more than welcome.
Rumor has it, anyway. All right. As for me, I will be joining the Patreon after chat and staying up to the wee hours of the night. And if they let me out early enough, I will be doing a park tonight. And if not, I will be up at 5:30 in the morning editing the video that I shot today and doing a park in the morning before work. This is a busy month for me. This weekend I got my club meeting. Next weekend I got a ham fest. And the following weekend I go to Huntsville. So other than that, I'll be in the park. I appreciate everybody's been in the chat. I really appreciate the pizzas that everybody donated because that's how I'm getting to Huntsville because gas ain't cheap. We will catch all the Patreons. The link is in the Discord chat. And if you can't find it, message me or Hayden. Plasma, you are definitely welcome to hang out and answer some questions for the crazy rowdy bunch. And
Sure.
other than that, yes, Huntsville is getting close, Mike. Literally like 3 weekends from now. So yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. 73.
73, everyone.
73.